Six guys talking about random stuff. You can turn us off when you've had enough.
Welcome back to the Six Guys Talking podcast. Today we are going to be interviewing Ty. He's been gone for a very long time, and we are all very excited to hear his story. So, welcome back, Ty. Please tell us your story. Where have you been? What were you doing? We are all very curious to know.
So I was at Fort Benning, Georgia for 2.5 months for basic training in the military. So the first couple weeks I was quarantined, even though I never had COVID. And then I was at reception for 2 more weeks. After that, I spent 10 weeks of training, actual training with drill sergeants in my platoon and my troop.
Yeah, that's very interesting. What were some of your best moments that you had there? What stands out of everything?
The best moments I had was probably when I got to fire my M4 rifle, because we would stand outside and for 6 hours in the sun with all of our kit, with our whole helmet, vest on, everything, and then shoot for 30 minutes. So that was a lot of fun. The best part was also probably hand-to-hand combatives, because we had a special guy come down and he just taught us a bunch of wrestling moves and how to take a punch and stuff like that. And then we all got level 1 certified, and there's 3 levels of combatives. So
That's pretty cool. Were you any good at doing that? Fighting hand-to-hand combat?
It depends on the day, because we would wrestle all day, and depends on the person I was going up against. So if I was going up against a 300-pound kid, it was bad.
Yeah, I bet.
Then I was going against a kid that was 5'4" and 200 pounds. It was a lot easier to get a move on them, and eventually the move was to choke them out. That's all you had to do. That's how you would contain them. That was the whole goal, was to contain, and that's the only way I knew how. So, yeah.
So you're saying that if we all got in an epic brawl, you would dominate us?
Probably.
Could you kill us if you wanted to? All 3 of us at this table. If we wanted to, we would all be dead.
Yes, I could find out a way.
That's confident.
Did they teach you, if you ever get in a brawl with your 3 network system friends, here's how you kill them?
Now with network system friends, but at the last day of combatives, we had a team of 4 against 3 drill sergeants, and we're all in our kit. They were all in their kit, so full on armor. And we had to wrestle them. We had to act like they were civilians. So we walked up, shook their hands, stuff, and then they would attack you. So a drill sergeant would attack me, and I moved to the side. I threw him onto the ground. He got back up and he tackled me. So, and then my battle buddy is what we called them. That's what we're supposed to call them, because they weren't our teammates, they weren't our friends. They were just our battle buddies. He came over and contained them, and I was able to slip out my weapon and finish the job. And then I sprint over to my other partner, and I slide across the ground. I wrap my legs around Joe Sergeant's neck, technically, and contain him as well. So you learn how to do a lot of moves.
So if you are really outstanding against your drill sergeants and that, right? Do you become drill sergeants?
No. If you did very good, then they made you do push-ups, because you were standing there. Yes. Technically, yep.
So you don't have any motive to try.
Well, the only motive was to not get recycled. That means you have to start completely over, or kicked out of the army. That was the only motivation we needed.
Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah, that's some pretty crazy motivation.
Or kicked out. It's we started with 193 people in our troop. So there's 3 platoons. Each platoon has 64 people or whatever. I don't know how many was in each. But we had 193 we started with. We ended with 153 because people got kicked out.
Were there
Yeah.
Were there people that were just physically unable to do the stuff and wanted to leave?
Yes. So when we do ruck marches out to like our first FTXs or living out in the field, people would like fall out of the ruck march and they would put in the van and drove away.
Wow.
Or if they couldn't shoot the weapon, like qualify, so you had to get a 23 out of 40 to qualify with your weapon. Okay. And people couldn't do that, so they get kicked out.
That's crazy. That's like really strict stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it's expected though if you're,
Yeah.
going into any branch of the military.
Mm-hmm.
Were you close at all to being kicked out, or did you do fine the whole way?
I did very good the entire time. I didn't really have any struggles or anything like that. So, because I shot like a 27 out of 40, I think.
Okay.
With my rifle. So it wasn't the best, but I was able to qualify. That's all it really mattered.
What were you feeling when you were first arriving there? Like, were you scared about anything at all? Like, were you nervous? Were you excited? What were you thinking when you first showed up?
I was terrified because I've never seen drill sergeant before I got there, other than the movies. And the first thing that a drill sergeant told me was that all my freedoms of a civilian, a citizen, was basically taken away for 2.5 months. And that could have been more true. I couldn't walk, talk, nothing I could have done on my own. They held your hand through everything, technically.
That's crazy. So you didn't have like your cell phone at all or anything? You weren't allowed those privileges either?
On Sundays was technically recovery day, so people could go to church if they needed to. And then we were given about 20 or 30 minutes of phone time. So I would like call my mom and stuff like that, check on my pay, stuff like that. So it was not that long. I think the longest phone call we had was maybe an hour.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, I bet those are really nice phone calls, or just having relaxing time after a whole week of just strenuous activity.
Yeah, it was. The first phone call I got was mentally hard because it was the first time hearing your parents' voice in, what was it, 10 weeks or so.
Oh, wow.
For me at least, I think. And so that one, everybody was crying all around. You get out of the room and drill sergeant asks you if you're crying. You're like, no. He's like, you liar. Stuff like that.
You're lying.
So, yeah. The drill sergeants are always right. You were always wrong. That's how it went. Now, it doesn't matter how long you've been in the military, drill sergeants are always going to be right.
So I know, like in the movies and stuff, the drill sergeants are consistently yelling and always just, not very nice people. Is that what it is like in real life too, or do they have nice moments where they're just kind of calm and normal?
So when it started, so there's 3 phases of basic training. There's red, white, and blue phase. It's very ironic.
Very fitting.
Anyways, so there's 3 weeks of red phase, 3 weeks of white phase, and about 3.5, 4 weeks of blue phase. So red phase is when they yell at you a lot, especially when we went to Chow. So we went to DFAC, which is a civilian ran building. So we would go in there and they'd scream at you, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, get through it all, and stuff like that. So it was a lot more screaming, a lot more exercise. Then we got into white phase, which is shooting your weapon, rifle maintenance. So they wanted you to be more calm because you could kill someone with that weapon, right? Mm-hmm. So they were more calm, but they're still strict. Like that was the only thing they could put their hands on.
Oh, really?
Was at the range because they're protecting people's lives.
Yeah.
So they got more relaxed in white phase, and then in blue phase, that's when you start. Like right now, I'll take a bullet for my drill sergeant if I had to, because they taught me everything I know, and they kept me in check and taught me a lot of discipline and confidence in myself. Even though they would make a lot of insults and stuff like that, but that was to boost up your confidence and to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
So yes, they yell a lot, but you just kind of learn to go through it and focus on the stuff that they said, not what they were insulting you about.
That's very interesting. It's almost like starts off as a love-hate relationship, and then it just builds off of that. That's very cool. So when you were in that white phase, when you said you were working with the guns and stuff, did you only work with M4s, or were you working with all types of different weapons?
Yes, it was just M4s, M4 carbine, I think it was. So we had to, because that's our primary weapon. That's like the weapon that we use.
Okay.
And so we learned how to do all that. And then AIT is what I go to next summer for 6 more weeks. So that's how I'll learn how to do my job. So I'll be shooting bigger guns, rocket launchers, driving big vehicles, tanks. That's what I'll be doing next summer. That's when you learn a wide variety of weapons.
That's pretty cool. So do you know if you're going to end up being deployed anywhere right away, or does that just kind of pop up?
Me being National Guard, it's not as likely as like an active soldier, but it depends on my unit. So like I'm a cavalry scout, that's what I'm trying to be.
Okay.
So I do a lot of reconnaissance and stuff like that. So I'm the first one out there before anybody else gets out there. So I could be a light cavalry scout or a heavy. A light one is going through rucking a lot. You do a lot of ruck marches, living out in the field, living in holes. And heavy is doing the same thing, but you have vehicles with you. So the possibility of getting deployed is always a possibility. It's always a possibility. But with like the stuff that's going on overseas and stuff like that, I probably won't be deployed until 6 years into my contract.
Okay.
So
Yeah, it's definitely very, very interesting. So what made you decide to want to, take a military approach with your career?
So both of my grandparents were in the military, and they both died while serving. And then, so that was a lot of motivation for me, at least. I thought I shouldn't do any less than what they did. I shouldn't have to go throughout my life thinking of all the stuff that I have and take it all for granted. So I decided to join the military and challenge myself and see if I could do what they did and serve like they did. So
Very, very noble thing to do. It's very inspiring. So, what were like? Did you have any like funny moments that happened during your basic? I mean, like, yeah, I mean, just like anything that made people laugh. I guess it's such a serious environment. It'd be interesting to know if there was any funny moments. I guess.
yes, so we had our own little bay, which is no bigger than what the locker rooms are here.
Okay.
A little bit longer, but otherwise, it was probably one of the funniest moments we had. It was me and the guy I hung out all the time there. He was always the guy by my side. We put on our helmets and our vests, and we went to the opposite sides of the room, and we sprayed at each other and put our heads down. We really hit helmets really hard, and it a big clash, and we fell to the ground, and my eyes were blurry, my head was ringing, and drill sergeant comes in screaming, "What happened? What are you doing?" But there's a lot of cussing, and there's more cussing in there.
Yeah.
And we're like, drill sergeant, we want to try out and see how good the helmets were, drill sergeant. And he's like, I don't care, get up and get to the ready line. So we all go to the ready line. We got smoked, or we had to do push-ups for 3 hours.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
It was funny though.
3 hours?
I think the longest session of exercises that we had to do was we had 2 days of nonstop. So
Really?
the only time we would stop was go to chow or food, go eat food. And that was the only time.
So you didn't like sleep at all either. They just
No.
Wow. What was your normal sleeping schedule there?
So we would start at bedtime was about 8-9 o'clock, and we would get up at 4 o'clock for formation at 5 o'clock, and at 5 o'clock we also had to go do PT. So just morning PT that we did every morning. So about 4 o'clock in the morning is when I would get up every day. I never got up any later than that.
So back when you said that you did push-ups for 2 hours, what if you couldn't do push-ups? Is that when you get kicked out too?
No. So you would just get yelled at more, and you'd have to do more push-ups like the whole platoon would. Or he would make you stand up and watch your whole platoon get messed up. As
Really?
You just watch. So like he would walk up and down the room counting cadence. So instead of doing like 10 push-ups, we would do like 20, 30
Okay.
technically. So he would go 1, 2, 3. That's 1. 1, 2, 3, 2. So he'd go up and down the room, and when he turned your back to you, that's when you would take a break.
Oh, okay. Forming a strategy a little bit.
Yep. So, and then it wasn't just push-ups. We would do jumping jacks. We would do a lot of like flutter kicks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was arms and legs. Everything was kind of just, you had to work everything, especially in those 2 hours because you have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So
So you got up at 4 in the morning, you said, right?
that's correct.
So when you got up, was it just all day of like physical movement, or did you have like a classroom for a few hours and you did some physical stuff, then back to a classroom or something?
In red phase from red phase to white phase, it transitioned, so about 2 or 4 weeks of those. That's when we would do a lot of classroom, so a lot of learn how to apply tourniquets and amputate stuff and learn how to work your weapon, how to take it apart, put it back together. So there was quite a few classroom, but once it got farther into like white phase, per se, so like 3 weeks in the white phase, which is like the last week, that's when classroom stuff just stopped.
Okay.
So like when we got to grenade throwing, there was no classroom stuff for that. They just showed
okay.
you how to do it.
Then you just practiced that for a while.
All day.
All day, just grenade throwing. Wow.
So
It is important, I guess, though.
because there's a lot of safety stuff to a grenade that you have to take off before you actually throw the grenade. So we practiced with dummy grenades for, when did we get there? We got there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we threw live grenades at 7 o'clock at night. So,
Crazy.
and then we threw 2 live grenades. It wasn't as cool as you think it was.
Oh, really? Is it kind of just underwhelming?
Yeah. You're supposed to throw it 15 meters, and it's just like throwing a baseball. Just it explodes.
Exploding baseball.
I mean, sounds pretty cool to me, but
You didn't get to watch it because that's
it's kind of in
dangerous.
the bunker.
Yeah,
Yes.
you got to be away from it, I guess.
Yeah.
Put on a welding mask.
So you would get down and you put your hand over your neck because you already have a helmet on. It would be useless putting your hands on your helmet.
Yeah.
And then the cadre or like a sergeant, he wasn't a drill sergeant, he was just a cadre member. He would get on top of you and just make sure you didn't get shrapnel in the face or anything.
That's the fun part.
So did you ever get like injured at all? I remember you talking about it a little bit earlier with like yellow jackets and stuff, but
Oh, well, not like injured. I didn't break anything because that would result in a recycle or kicked out of the army.
okay.
But like last week, I was out in the field for 5 days and 4 nights.
Really?
So that first night, we would dig holes in the ground and we would sleep in holes. So just like scrapes that are the size of your body.
Oh wow.
And then you just put a mat down, and then like I would use my rock or my weapon as a pillow. And I would just lay there, and I remember it started raining, and my scrape is what it's called, filled up with water. So I got out quickly, me and my battle buddy got out of our scrape, which is in a V so we could hold security all night. So we wake up and we make a tent in the middle of the night, just grab a bunch of sticks, stab them into the ground, and put poncho over it. And I remember waking up about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and my legs are burning, and I pull my cargo pants up, my uniform, and there's fire ants up and down my legs.
Oh jeez.
So I'd spent all day scratching my legs, then they scabbed over, and then that same day, we're running a mission, me and my squad, and we come into contact with the enemy, and so we're shooting blanks at each other. They just go pop. There's no real bullets, and so we do our flanking movement. Me and my squad, we walked through the objective, and I had a radio on my back because I was a radio man. Then the antenna hit a tree, and there's a yellow jackets attacked, and I got stung all up down my neckline, my like hairline, and on my head, because I got on my hat and stuff like that.
That's very unfortunate, that whole situation.
Depressing.
Yes, it was, and then also I had sweat and heat rash on my back and arms. So that was a long day.
Was the mission successful at least?
I guess.
Not for time.
When I started getting stung, so I could feel them land on my head and sting me, I'd sprint to my drill sergeant. I was like, drill sergeant, they're chasing me. And
The enemy? No. Worse.
and he was like, don't come over here, go to the road. So I drop my radio and my weapon on the ground. I sprint to the road. And I start running up and down the road. And then I get back to the base with my squad. And Joe Sergeant walks up to me. My favorite Joe Sergeant walks up to me. And he's like, Private, what happened? I was like, I got attacked by Yellow Jackets, Joe Sergeant. He's like, did you cry? No, Joe Sergeant. Did you run away? I was like, I ran away tactically, Joe Sergeant.
Special goals, shooting them.
How many did you hit? 27 out of 40.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
jeez.
that was probably, it was a bad experience, but then that was like the second day. And then the third day, we were running missions still, and the Yellow Jackets, they would stay in the ground, like they would make holes in the ground and step on them, they'd get all mad and they would attack you again.
Yeah.
So, and then during that day, we were just down in our scrapes, so in our little patrol base.
Okay.
And we're just fixing up our scrapes, and Joe Sergeant comes down there, he throws a smoke grenade, and it's yellow smoke, so we have to put our gas mask on. So I had a gas mask on, t-shirt, cargo pants, and we started shooting at our drill sergeant and stuff like that. He comes around and says, you're dead, you're dead. So we're picking up people, throwing them into a pile.
So you just have to be like,
Yeah. So, yeah, it was good. It was a lot of fun.
Well, that sounds like it was a very interesting experience, and thank you so much for letting us know about your story and telling the podcast and everyone who listens your story. And thank you everybody who listened to the Six Guys Talking podcast. If you want to hear more from Six Guys Talking, we are on Spotify and many other platforms. I think you just have to search up Six Guys Podcast and you'll find us. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we will be back next week.